All right, good afternoon. It is Saturday, October 13th, 2018, over here in Florida, where I live, right here. And we are looking at the U.S. Geological Survey's map of all earthquakes of all magnitudes in the last 24 hours. We're looking at 231 earthquakes in this map area over the last 24 hours. Red dots equal earth or mean earthquakes that have happened within the last hour. The gold dots are within the last 24 hours. I want to take a look at two or three particular earthquakes, but I'm going to start with the most important one that I saw when I just got up a little while ago. I've only got a few minutes because I'm working and I have to get ready for work here. And I won't be home for probably another 11 hours from now, so I may not be able to monitor this all day. However, let's take a look at this earthquake right here. This is a 6.7 earthquake in the Kamchatka, Russia region. That earthquake at 6.7 is at a depth of 470 kilometers. So that constitutes a large, deep earthquake in that the earthquake is greater than a 4.0 magnitude and deeper than 200 kilometers, putting the origination of this seismic energy under the plate in an area known as the asthenosphere, way down deep under the tectonic plate or the crust of the earth. So this earthquake is 6.7 at 470 kilometers is well within that region. So large deep earthquakes produce large shallow earthquakes as that seismic energy pushes up to the surface and then transfers along the plate boundaries, which are represented by these red lines. This is the Pacific plate, this is the North American plate, and so where those plates meet, these lines constitute the plate boundaries. And so this particular earthquake, I'm going to zoom in a little closer just so I can show you a few things. All right, let's pull this down here into the screen where you can see it. All right, so this is the 6.7 that we're talking about right now. And as you can see, it is right on the plate boundary, right in this region here. And this is Kamchatka, Russia. Lots of volcanoes in this region, all along up in here. The Kuril Islands. Um, anyway, so when earthquakes happen in this particular region, historically, according to the data, usually that seismic energy will push along the Aleutian island chains, where there's also a series of volcanoes. A lot of times when there's an earthquake here, these volcanoes will start popping off. I'm sure there are several that are already active and or erupting. However, occasionally, depending on the depth and magnitude of the earthquakes in this region, that seismic energy, because it's below the crust, will travel along this fracture. You can see that in your screen. If you put this on full screen, you should be able to see it. That fracture runs all the way across the Pacific plate and dead ends right here at the tip of the Juan de Fuca, which is this region here. Moreover, though, this area between Vancouver Island and British Columbia, up in this region, all the way down here to near northern California, Redding, California, is the area that's called the Cascadia subduction zone, where the plate is subducting under, and the big megathrust earthquake that everyone talks about is expected in this region. And so, because we now have a very large, very deep earthquake over here, that is when everyone on this side and in this region should be on alert and on watch and ready. Have your earthquake plan, have your earthquake kit dusted off, and get ready. There is possible incoming seismic pressure from this earthquake right here, 6.7 magnitude at 471 kilometers approximately. So this seismic pressure, again, could transfer along the Aleutian Islands and work its way up out into this area here. However, there is also the possibility, because of the depth, that it will bypass this plate boundary and travel along this fracture zone right here. And as you can see, again, if you look carefully, you can see that that fracture runs right into the Cascadia subduction zone region, and then also at the top of the San Andreas fault that runs down in here. If you live in Northern California, Washington State, Oregon, Portland, Seattle, Vancouver Island, or up here in British Columbia, I would definitely have my earthquake kit dusted off and ready to go and be on watch. This is a long way for seismic energy to travel. It could take 24 hours. It could take up to a week, maybe 10 days for that seismic pressure to transfer all the way up over here. Sorry, I'm having a little bit of trouble with this computer. It's acting crazy. So anyway, there is another couple of earthquakes I want to take a look at while we're talking about it. There's a little earthquake down here in the southwest of Australia. Don't see those very often. So 4.6, nothing major, but not the usual. One I want to point out right here in the Fiji-Tonga origination zone is this 4.5 at 508 kilometers depth. I expect that this will push up to the surface, produce a magnitude 4.9 to 5.2 shallow earthquake in the region. And then we have another earthquake over here. Let's see. This guy right here in Vanuatu. This is a 5.7 yesterday. 5.7, we'll just call it a magnitude 6 earthquake, but it was at 200 kilometers. They're saying 199 kilometers, 200 kilometers. So that also constitutes a large, deep earthquake because it's 5.7 and it's at 200 kilometers depth. Seismic energy from this one will push up to the surface, producing a similar size or larger earthquake, likely over here in the Solomon Islands or over here in Papua New Guinea within the next 24 hours to, say, 5 days. Some of that seismic energy will transfer along these plate boundaries, obviously into the Indonesian islands. One mitigating factor would be volcanic activity, which could reduce the seismic energy because volcanoes act as a pressure relief valve, and there's plenty of them along this path that are active and or erupting. However, if I lived in these areas, I would be on alert and be ready for magnitude 6 or larger earthquake within the next 24 hours to 1 week, approximately. That seismic energy will eventually transfer to the north through Philippines towards Taiwan, possibly over here in Guam and the Mariana Islands. And eventually, later during the week, after a few days, we should see some seismic energy right here in Japan. But for now, and for this video, this earthquake right here is the concern. 6.7 at 470 kilometers is likely to push across the Pacific plate and wind up in this region over here. So please share this video, give it a thumbs up. Have your earthquake plan ready. Have your earthquake kit dusted off. Eyes wide open. Never fear. Have a plan. Thanks.